Matapos ang paglabas ng report ng Commission on Audit ng Office of the Vice President ni Vice President Sara ay malinis ang record. Walang katiwalian, walang korupsyon at dahil dyan ay imposibleng ma-impeach si Vice President Sara. Sabay naglabas naman ngayon ng pahayag ang Malacanang. Wala daw kinalaman si BBM sa nangyayaring pagpapa-impeach kay Vice President Sara. Ayon kay Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, the impeachment complaint filed in the House of Representatives by several private citizens is clearly the complainant's independent initiative, and its endorsement is the prerogative of any member of the House of Representatives. The Office of the President has nothing to do with it. Matapos kasing ilabas ng Commission on Audit ang naging report nito patungkol sa Office of the Vice President na malinis naman talaga, walang korupsyon. Hugas kamay ngayon itong si BBM at dito lang natin mapapatunayan na talagang mahina itong si BBM na hindi siya sinusunod ng Kongreso. Gayong siya ang presidente at dito natin mapapatunayan na si BBM ay presidente lamang sa papel at hindi talaga siya ang ating tunay na Pangulo. Ayon sa post ni Chito A. Fuentes, BBM does appellate. If there is anything positive to come out of the impeachment case filed against Vice President Sara Duterte, it is the virtual confirmation that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is no longer president. A day after the impeachment case was filed, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin issued a statement saying the Office of the President has nothing to do with it. The complaint is clearly the complainant's independent initiative and its endorsement the prerogative of any member of the House of Representatives. For a moment, we are tempted to imagine ourselves in a sovereign state where the Constitution is upheld at all times and the law is supreme. Of course, we all know the real score. Until this point, there were people who still held on to the fantasy that BBM is still president. That fantasy evaporated into thin air when he washed his hands off the impeachment complaint that he dismissed as a waste of time just a few days earlier. It is nothing like the decisive and categorical rejection of former President Rodrigo Duterte to suggestions that former Vice President Leni Robredo comparing BBM to former PRD, of course, is pointless, but that would digress from the issue at hand. For the impeachment complaint to even reach first base is a testament both to BBM's frailty and insincerity. Even the most vociferous of his critics, as the people behind the case once were, would think twice before proceeding with it under one who is firm. As to sincerity, well, BBM must have been somewhere else when it was being distributed. To be fair, BBM can be firm and decisive if he wants to. The manner by which the hakbang ng maisog rallies were boot and unceremoniously had is proof of that. Lest anyone forget, he is not Ferdinand Marcos Jr. for nothing. Early in his term, BBM unleashed his first-degree cousin, Speaker Martin Romualdez, obviously to groom him as his successor. If his father's reign is a template, Romualdez fits the bill. Romualdez comes with a lot of baggages, literal and figurative. But who cares? One cannot choose relatives, so BBM is stuck with him, for better or for worse, mostly for worse. That settled, Romualdez sets into motion the grand design for his succession, mastering all the resources at his disposal, and even those that are not his for the taking. Martin didn't waste time. There's just one problem though, a major problem that goes by the name of Inday Sara Duterte. To remove her from the equation, they waged a consistent propaganda campaign against her in the mainstream media. They accused her of misusing the confidential fund and even included her in the cases before the ICC. When all this failed, they resorted to the filing of the impeachment case against her. There is no argument that Martin's fingerprints are all over. But this is only because BBM surrendered the wheel of governance to him ahead of 2028. Unfortunately, for BBM and Martin, the fabled patience of the Filipino has snapped. The army of trolls employed to sow disinformation are no match to a people who have tasted good governance under former PRD. They are the ones fighting back even as Vice President Inday and the Dutertes continue to keep their distance while parrying blows rained on them by Martin and BBM. Legal minds have dismissed the impeachment case at best as a botched job, the result of the haste with which it was prepared. It has no leg to stand on, but enough to satisfy the mounting pressure from administration allies getting uncomfortable with the delay. If they thought the impeachment would rattle VP Inday, former PRRD and their allies, they thought wrong. The worst thing that can happen is for her to be impeached, which she looks forward to because it will free her from the pressures that comes with the expectations of her own date with destiny. Her legions of supporters, however, would not allow that to happen. They and the country, not her, stands to lose most under Martin. That is what BBM and Martin would have to deal with. BBM washing his hands on the impeachment is immaterial, with his virtual admission that he has lost control over his administration. BBM has only raised the temperature to a level of uncertainty reminiscent of the last days of his father in Malacanang. Hand-washing did not work for Pilit. It won't work for BBM. Nagkamali ka ng kinalaban BBM. Nagkamali ka ng tinaydor mo. Mga Duterte pa talaga. Matapos kang tulungang makabalik ang pangalan ng Marcos sa Malacanang, ito pa ang iyong igaganti. Huwag mong sinasagad ang galit ng taong bayan. Alam na alam mo sa sarili mo, BBM, na isak talagang mahina kahit noon pang eleksyon. Ang gusto talaga ng taong bayan na mamuno noong 2022 ay walang iba kundi si Vice President Sara. Kung sakim si Vice President Sara sa kapangyarihan, siya na lang ang tumakbong presidente. Kaso, hindi nga siya ambisyosa. Kaya nga siya nagparaya kay BBM na kanyang maging Vice President na lamang. Unahin mo ang problema ng bawat Pilipino, BBM. Unahin mo ang tunay na problema ng Pilipinas. Dahil ang mga Duterte ang tunay at may malasakit sa mga Pilipino. Ang mga Duterte lamang ang nagparamdam na tunay na pagbabago, tapang at malasakit. Tunay na lider, hindi sila ang problema ng bansa, kundi ngayon, kayo na ang problema ng Pilipinas. Ano ang inyong opinion? Huwag nang kalimutang i-share ang video na ito, mag-iwan ng comment at like.